So let's move on to our next very equally interesting session where we are again talking about the young generation, the millennial frenzy, Indian realties, evolving disruptions. So yes, a lot of disruptions are happening in the real estate sector, and that is what we are going to talk about. Let me welcome our moderator of the session, Mr. Piyush Gupta, Managing Director, Capital Markets and Investment Services India, Colliers. With 2 decades of experience, Piyush is responsible for developing capital markets business in India. He's leading the client acquisition, developing institutional relationships with Indian and global funds, sovereign funds, banks, NBFCs, AIFs for capital markets business. He has proven expertise in real estate investments, asset management, and exit strategy, deployment, and business development. A very warm welcome to Mr. Piyush Gupta as the moderator of the session. Let me now invite our expert panel in an alphabetical order. Our first panel member, I introduce Mr. Anuj Goradia, Director at Dosti Realty. Anuj Goradia has been actively leading the brand transformation by bringing in a new vibe and modernistic ways of doing business. He brings a global mindset and oversees project planning, design, and construction, and he has played a pivotal role in streaming the pre-sales, marketing sales, CRM, and other verticals through the use of technology. Our next panel member is Mr. J. Morzaria, Director, VRaj Group and President, NAREDCO NextGen India. Jay stands at the forefront of the fastest growing companies under VRaj Group. He spent the past 11 years evangelizing shift to redevelopment in real estate business. He commenced his career in real estate at a young age of 19, and he is responsible for companies' acquisitions, operations, sales, and finance. Our next panel member is Mr. Nayan Raheja, Director, Raheja Developers. Architect Nayan Raheja is a passionate entrepreneur and has been a growth driver for bringing Raheja Developers into a new era. Under his aegis, the company has seen tremendous change in the last few years due to the change of business strategy from mid-level housing to luxury housing. Our next eminent panel member, I introduce Ms. Pushpa Bector, Executive Director, DLF Retail. In her current role, Pushpa is responsible for providing executive leadership and management of DLF retail malls, including premium and luxury across marketing, leasing, finance, and operation. She aspires to not only expand DLF's footprints in retail, but make the brand synonymous with an unparalleled holistic retail experience. Our next panel member is Rishab Siroya, founder Legend Siroya, President-elect, NAREDCO NextGen. Rishab Siroya is a young professional skilled in negotiation, sales, asset management, investment properties, and real estate transactions. Under his leadership, the company now has projects in Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, and Bangalore, and an expertise in a wide range of projects from slab rehabilitation to luxury projects. Our next and final member, I introduce Mr. Sarthak Gaur, Director, Gaur's Group, also Joint Secretary, CREDAI Western UP. Sarthak, the young scion of the group, provides a new direction to the business with his progressive ideas. He has brought significant developments in the functioning of the group and plans to take the company forward while still preserving its 25 years, more than 25 years old values. So this is our eminent panel, and Piyush, I hand it over to you now.
Yeah. Thank you, Sapna. Thanks Realty Plus for having me here. And I think it's always been a pleasure to be part of Realty Plus events consistently. I think good afternoon to all the audience and a very warm welcome to all the fellow panelists. Real estate in India, has always been very close to people's hearts and mind both. The decisions aren't just subject to financial decisions, but also it's got a lot to do with the emotions. Hence, the constant changes are imperative, whether we call it disruptions or evolving to meet current generation's expectations. I think it will be very interesting to hear views with all the panelists on such evolving changes, whether it's on buying preferences, what do customers are now thinking, millennials are now thinking, evolving the strategies on marketing, sales from a developer perspective, how we're seeing retail consumption, and also the newer age, the products like shared living, whether it's on student living, senior housing, and the entire thing on flight to quality, which has been the I think the key word for last couple of years. To start, maybe maybe I can invite in Anuj, to come in here. Anuj, you all have, for decades done, mid-income, affordable, or even, upscale developments, large township developments. And specifically, if at all you see, the trend, what has changed in last 2 to 3 years time, how you see from a buyer's perspective, how the expectations has changed. I think so one, from the, what do they look from a developer, and what changes you think they expect in a project from a buyer's perspective?
Thank you, Sapna and Piyush. Thank you for having all of us on the Realty Plus panel for today's webinar. To get back to Piyush and your question, just wanted to firstly state that, see, housing over the years has changed drastically, be it the way housing sales have been carried out in the early 1990s, early 2000s, and post 2010s. It was when there was less of an importance on a sample flat, show flat, sales office model walkthrough. And with times changing, all of these factors have become a basic hygiene, which is required by any developer, I think, across the country to actually launch a project. Earlier, we used to have engineers or other staff at site who would transact on properties and do transactions in their free time. Now, all developers have a dedicated sales and marketing team who work on it. And the market has even changed from earlier being a seller's market to now being a buyer's market. It's always the customer who is at the forefront of all your discussions. So we have seen in terms of how customers have changed and they have changed their decision making, is the level of trust and importance placed in a developer's past record, past experience, talking to a developer's old customers or going and seeing their old projects. How is the clubhouse maintained? How is the retail aspect maintained? How are the societies and lobbies maintained? Has really become of a forefront, very, very important compared to how back in the day it was looked at, but it wasn't looked at in a very, very important manner. And always we are seeing back in the day, customers used to, pre-pandemic, smaller homes, especially in MMR, were in high demand. However, during the pandemic, customers have realized the challenges faced by the families staying in smaller apartments. And the trend has gradually changed from buying a 1.5 bed to a proper 2 bed, or buying a 2.5 bed with like a study room to a large 3 bed instead. So we are seeing ticket sizes are increasing as well, be it across Thane, Shilfata, Kalyan, or even Kandivali, Borivali, and in central markets of Adala and Nayan.
Great. Thanks, Anuj. And I think you brought out, I think, 2-3 key points. I think one is on the buyer experiences. It's and today it's the way market has moved, it becomes more buyer's market. So the entire flight to quality and convince a buyer has become more and more important. And another important point which you brought about on a larger size. So customers do prefer, and with the hybrid environment of work going on, so there is definitely a need for a larger apartments. Maybe Rishab, coming to you, you've been doing projects, in different markets, right? So how have been your experience and with the changing buyers' expectations and requirements, maybe more to do with specifications, quality?
For me, I think for us actually, the projects that we are doing, they're mostly luxurious projects. I think there's some disturbance. Yes. Okay. So I think asking about project specifications, coming back to, it will be one project specification will be the on-ground, on-site, hard physical specifications that change, and the behind-the-scenes specification, which is more to do with the customer experience, which changes. On-ground specifications, you can call it your gym, pool, amenities, all those specifications which amenities which we used to give earlier, they're still there. But now customers are asking what more? What is there extra? So, the things like what COVID has taught us, is work from home spaces, offices. So we are designing, or we are planning to put that aspect into our design phase, where we're seeing that, we can create a 2-bed or 3-bed along with a home space, which the customer is ready to pay for. And they're looking for these differentiating factors, like balconies, open spaces, where customers want, to have not just those 4 walls, but they want to experience that balconies, which after 2013, Bombay has seen a very declining stage in demand, because they were all paid for after 2013.
Yeah.
But now after COVID, that has changed a lot. And I think it's the millennials, the generation Y that we call, that is, clearly asking for these things. They're ready to pay for that extra amenity. What we are also seeing is, the people coming and asking us about e-charging stations. How are you going to provide these things in the buildings that you're going to give us? Because they want to now move to e-vehicles and, not just the normal petrol and car diesels. So they're asking us, how are you providing charging stations, charging points? How many cars can be charged at that point? So these are, again, changing on-site physical things for us as architects, as developers. We planning those spaces. We are also looking at planning, better common spaces, which will eventually also create better community experience for the buyer, which is very, very important right now, because when a buyer is buying into a property, they're looking at it as a long-term thing now. So they're thinking, these are the people that I want to spend my next 20, 30 years with. My kids will grow up with their kids. So, those common experiences, like maybe children crash areas, co-working spaces in the building, which is meant only for the residents, properly managed societies, which along with PMCs, along with project management companies. So this is one which is on site. What we are also looking at behind the scenes is the customer experience. One of the biggest experience matter is the documentation process for a property. And we are trying to see from our organization perspective, how we can make it in a streamlined, more transparent way, where, using apps, simple apps like DocuSign, where a document of 100 pages doesn't need to be signed every single page. And obviously the government is also becoming more online. They're receptive of this fact. They're accepting these documents which are signed on DocuSign, and we can do the registrations online. So you don't have to wait in 4 hours, 3 hours on registration queues. So we are trying to do those things. Besides that, I think this is something which is a long-term vision for us. But one of the biggest issues with real estate has always been liquidity, that it's not a liquid asset. It's always, you'd have to hold on to it for like 6 months, 5 months, sometimes a year. And we're trying to see how we can integrate tokenization into real estate, into our projects as well. Fractional ownership is available right now, but it's mostly for commercial projects. For residential projects, this is something that we're looking at. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Rishab. Maybe coming to Jay. Jay, your thoughts on the changing trends from a buyer's perspective?
So yeah, the wave of digital transformation has taken over real estate as other sectors. As we move towards the younger generation of buyers, it is important to be technology centric in our approach towards marketing to this audience. This generation of buyers lives in a fast-paced, changing lifestyle. The preference seems to be shifting towards renting over buying. So as a developer, we must understand their needs and re-evaluate our business models. So we must also not underestimate the power of data-driven decision making while planning our new projects. We must develop robust structures after collecting and analyzing data to understand what are the requirements of the market and how best we can provide the solution. So yes, technology plays a huge role in whole process of for consumers as well as for the developers.
I think important point, I think Jay and Rishab, you both brought out. One is on the technology, whether it results into tokenization or fractional ownership. We are seeing that happening in the office side. But we will discuss more on that. And also, I think important point which also got discussed is renting versus buying. We've been, this is a very inherent discussion for many, many years in Indian real estate on a residential standpoint, with yields wherever they are, whether it makes sense for millennials, to actually rent out. We will discuss this. But before that, maybe, we can, Pushpa, you can, come in here. And I think so a lot, we have discussed, spoken generally on the retail side, consumer spends, the trends. Yeah. How have you seen this shift? And when we speak about buyers' experiences, we spoke about residential, and in retail now, malls are up and running. We are seeing overall increase in footfalls. But at the same time, we also see a lot on, whether it's technology or, online. How are you seeing that overall trend emerging from a buyer's experiences perspective?
Yeah. So, as far as malls and I would say retail spaces are concerned, one of the biggest trends that you will get to see is people are more into omni-channel retailing. I'm talking from a retailer standpoint, which means a lot of discoverability will continue to happen digitally and people will come to experience things physically. With this, we've seen when it comes to shopping, it's highly omni-channel oriented now. On the other hand, when it comes to F&B, we in DLF, as you know, have really gone high on F&B, and that has really boomed. Even post-COVID, during COVID, you see that the boost in F&B was rather high because I strongly believe and always have believed that people, India, we all like to shop in communities. We are community-led, friends-led, etc., etc. And hence that physical connect is going to be always the hero in terms of our shopping and dining requirements. So to that extent, I think we in DLF, we always keep a huge focus on experiential retailing. So you come to our properties, you will see that experiential retailing played out. Now, how that plays out is, we looked at, say, Avenue. Avenue is a property in Saket, which we opened during COVID. So we had to, adapt to the growing trends. So what we did is I increased alfresco dining in a big way during COVID. And that has become a new trend for F&B. Alfresco dining is what they seek, what they love. And now when it comes to consumers are going to be continuing with digi payments. They love the QR coding. The way we order menus, the way the QR coded menus is here to stay. I don't think it's going to go away. What is also happening is there is a lot in terms of the entry experiences in a property and ongoing experiences in a property is highly tech savvy now. Whatever tech adaptation we had taken on, we are retaining those. So I would say high on technology, that's going to remain. The food and beverage experience will be far more experiential in nature, and people want to experiment, home chefs, different kinds of chefs, all that will come into play in a big way. And shopping will be digitally discovered and physically, digitally discovered and physically enjoyed. These are the three things I can think of.
Right, great. And Pushpa, just to follow on, and when we talk about the overall consumer spend, right? Do you think an average consumer is now spending more? Is that a trend you see from a pre-2020 days and now?
Sure. I mean, see, the footfall has come up to around 95%. But when it comes to sales, the wallet spends are far higher. We are standing at 120% of pre-COVID, which means the persons who are coming in, they're spending, they're planning and spending is far more. And this is a trend that will continue. The second thing that I see is that people are buying off fresh merchandise. It's very interesting. It used to be very sale oriented. Now there's an antithesis of that. People are buying fresh merchandise. They know what they want. They're planning their purchase. And I will say consumers have a serious sense of, living very well today. And, the YOLO impact is very much there. You only live once. It's very much visible. And we are looking at this year to be one of the best years for retail in the country and DLF specifically. The other thing is that consumers are also not just planning their shopping, they're also, you know, since they've discovered it digitally, then they know what they want and their speed of purchase is really increased. And because of that, we are seeing wallet sizes increasing. Example, say at a Mall of India, the spend per footfall is one thing that we always look at. So spend per footfall, say, was 900 rupees pre-pandemic. It's gone up to 1,300 rupees now. That means every person who comes in is spending that much more. You know, so that's an interesting thing that is happening. And this is here to stay because the economy is really looking good in terms of retail spends. We do think that this is a nascent point for retail, and you know, it will pivot into a stronger retail spend for us in the next 5 years. When I talk about categories like athleisure had done very well during COVID. How well will it continue to grow and do is a matter of, you know, speculation, but it really did well. Luxury did fantastically well because international travel was low, but even continuing, I do see luxury spends to become higher. So some of these interesting trends have come, and we do believe that retail will find an expression in all aspects of our lives.
Great. Thanks, Pushpa. I think it was also great to hear the average spend on a footfall is increasing, and I think that this trend we are seeing across not only for retail, even for real estate, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe Jay, and Jay, maybe if I can, you can come in here and the sales over in last 2 years and across markets, whether we go east, west, north, south, mid income, affordable, luxury, everything has been selling well. And despite the interest rate hikes, inflation, it's holding up pretty well. Does that give you comfort and you go into comfort zone, or you think this possibly it's going to be challenged to sustain this going forward?
So as I said earlier, using the full potential of digital tools that we have at our disposal in today's world is a need of the hour. Sales and marketing are two terms that people often club together, but they are very different. Like marketing is highly technical and layered process that starts even before the project is started. Through data collection and analysis, we can understand the demand of the market and plan our projects accordingly. So today we have international property consultants, research agencies who have like sound knowledge of the trends and can advise us like what are the gaps in the market and which needs to be addressed. Through project planning, branding, advertising, we will able to identify, reach and satisfy our targeted audience. So using the most potential tool of advertising, that is social media, which can give the good results. So in my opinion, innovation in sales and marketing means simply moving ahead with the times. In the olden days, we used to build a property, then look for the buyers. So, but now with our consumer becoming smarter day by day, we must understand the buyers' demands and then build the properties.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jay. Rishab, your thoughts around, and I think so you got the point of tokenization as well. And if at all we look at the entire metaverse, universe where buying a flat even without visiting the site, right? Do you think that is something which a millennial is now expecting? And you say that going in a big way from a sales and marketing standpoint?
Definitely yes. Because it's not just, I'm not saying that metaverse land is a good investment or, investing in NFTs. I don't think about that. But the tech is there. The tech is correct. So for me, I'm going to utilize that tech as a marketing tool. If you say that how are we going to use it, it's going to be used as showcasing my apartments in the metaverse. So you don't have to leave your house. You can be sitting in London and still view my house real time. The booking process is easier. The title deeds are much faster, much easier. You have the tech which is available. So, the blockchain model definitely enables the real estate industry to be more transparent, which was lacking a few years ago. And it's not just going to be the millennials, it's actually going to be the next generation, Gen Zs. They're going to be more incorporating of this culture. So yes, it is definitely going to help.
Yeah, thanks, Rishab. Anuj, your thoughts on the overall use of technology, and from your perspective, how are you integrating, the use of technology with your overall sales, marketing, and the CRM?
So technology has been a great boon for us in the last couple of years, but I definitely feel that in real estate, one needs to balance out the amount of technology you plan to integrate, implement into your platforms also. Because end of the day, it's a very emotional process to buy a home. Be it you're buying a home, buying an expensive bag, wallet, or purse. Your entire family tends to get involved, and different members have different levels of technological savviness. So we at Dosti, we have tried to implement technology ever since the pandemic has struck in multiple manners also. Be it in our pre-sales vertical, how do we connect with the customer within a half an hour turnaround time after he puts in a lead online, be it in our be it in our corporate website or landing pages. Even from a booking point of view, when the customer shows up in our sales office, it's always handy. Excuse me. It's always handy for our sales managers to have their past information pulled up in a quick second or so, compared to again get reoriented to the customer, understand their requirements, their preferences, and their decisions. Similarly, when it comes to customer relationship management, customer service, and facility management for a large IT park or corporate park, that is where technology has really helped us out. I would say across our IT parks in Thane and Wagle estate, we have implemented a 3D technology that's called like a building information modeling to understand clash management, understand what's going wrong with the services. When we are maintaining a bustling IT park with more than 8,000 employees walking in, walking out daily, you have to have all the systems working in a very efficient manner. And with the help of modeling the entire building and its services, we're able to preempt certain risks and certain issues that may come up in the next few days. So we are able to arrest the issue before it actually props up. Similarly, when it comes to providing customer updates regarding the progress of construction, progress of finishing, when do we plan to hand over, or even getting their legal documents, be it their agreement for sale, all of that has been digitized and put onto a customer portal at Dosti, where they're able to access all of it through a click of a button, be it on mobile phones, tablets, or desktops also. But as I said, that we are always looking to strive a balance between technology and maintaining the physical gesture relationship, because real estate is a very, very emotional, and it's one of your, I would say, in a family's lifetime, in an individual's lifetime, it's the only time he's going to buy a house probably once in his lifetime. So definitely with metaverse and various I would say cryptocurrency gaining more and more traction day by day, I find real estate is always going to remain, I would say, 50% technology, 50% in person.
Yeah, interesting, Anuj. And just an overall point. I think in Pushpa also mentioned that there's a clear flight to luxury. Right, people are spending more. People want better quality, and in fact, Rishab, Anuj, you and Jay also mentioned about it. So I think another point is that from a real estate residential standpoint, is luxury now a statement of a big size or a better quality or a better product? What is when we talk about entire better experience luxury, what is it? Right. So, or is it a combination of all the factors which together make it, much better product, say what we used to see 2 years, 3 years back? Rishab, your thoughts?
There are two ways to look at this. Size is definitely not the concern. It's more about the amenities, the wellness, open spaces that the project has to offer. For example, a project in Goradia, I'm just talking about micro markets over here in Bombay. Project in Goradia can cost 40,000 rupees a square feet, and the same in Worli can also cost 40,000 rupees a square feet. So right now, it's not anymore a luxury that you're living in South Bombay, because the same amenities, the same finishes, and the same status can be attained at Goregaon or Malad as well. So yeah, I mean, size is not the only criteria that someone should or would look at right now. Someone can buy a 1 crore apartment, 2 crore apartment, but it's also comes with the tagline that, oh, I live in this property.
Yeah.
So that is what creates a luxury level for them.
Right. Jay, coming to you, from a customer standpoint, I think we have spoken about the product from the buyer experiences. From the developer standpoint, what are few things which a customer now looks at? Okay, these are 3 things I would want to look up into a developer from its credential standpoint.
So yeah, customer firstly will go with the known brand. They'll not risk their money, since major money are major savings of their life are involved in the real estates. Other than that, real estate is a very local market. So it's micro pockets will do well, especially in metros. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, real estate has been, for the last many years, we have seen, except now from office standpoint, we still see developers doing projects from one market on the project, but residential predominantly has remained, local play. Pushpa, now from a retail standpoint, since we are seeing a good frenzy on, customer spending, per person spend is increasing. Will we see more of malls coming in? Because if at all we talk about India from a retail or a mall market vis-a-vis any other global markets, we can just count the number of good operating malls, which are 500,000 or million square feet plus, right? Do you think this is now a phase for next few years' time where in the overall real estate development, we will see more of malls and more of malls operators? In India, we don't have mall operators. You all have been doing, and maybe we can just name a couple of more on a pan-India perspective. So you think this is a phase for next few years' time, where we will have evolution of newer malls as well as mall operators? Sorry, Pushpa, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So I can tell you that within the industry, I see a lot more expansions happening, especially in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. I do see a rush for new properties finally happening. When it comes to DLF, we are actually declared yesterday in our board meeting also that we are doubling our portfolio. And so we will be doubling our retail portfolio. We will be setting up malls in the high street spaces as plazas, which is anchoring our residential development. And I wouldn't call them malls exactly, but plazas, high street shopping. There would be very nice premium property that we have already started constructing in Goa. It's called DLF Avenue. That's a 650,000 square feet property. There is, of course, the expansion at Vasant Kunj, and there is a big one that we are planning. All of this, we are very serious about doubling our portfolio, which is currently at 4.5. Our retail is also expanding in the offices space. We have a lot of amenities, office amenities, which we do believe that the amenity has to be the third place for people to come back to office and enjoy their life. So there's a lot of focus on retail within the office complexes also. Currently, I'm setting up at least 4 of them across the country. So yes, we are going pan-India, be it through retail and offices or focused around Delhi and CR or, good pockets like Goa. we are looking at retail seriously. We do think that this is a great expansion time. And as we are bullish about retail growing over the next 5-6 years, this is the right time to do so.
Yeah, great. So mixed use, possibly, larger developments is kind of, maybe is this a mantra, maybe Rishab or Anuj, your thoughts? Would you see as one of the amenities to the customers that having an integrated development, maybe a small retail or large, if at all, the overall layout permits, is that the need of the hour?
I feel absolutely it is the highly need of the hour also. Many of our past developments, be it in Vadala, Shivri or Sayan, they are very 95 to 98% residential focused. And there's a very small portfolio left for some commercial units and retail shops. But looking back, we feel if we had provisioned for maybe a few restaurants, some IT stores, some retail shopping, and created a promenade, that location would become, I would say, a more bustling location down the line compared to doing a very residential focused development. You are in it, you put your heart out for 4-5 years and then you exit entirely. But having a retail, even a developer has a chance to maintain the properties by himself and be involved with the community for many years to go. So we are trying in our new developments, be it in Dosti West County at Thane or at Dosti Planet North and in Dosti Pune and Hadapsar. We are always looking to integrate a 20 to 25% aspect of retail to ensure to give the end user a mixed use development.
Yeah, sure. Rishab, your thoughts?
So I feel it is a good idea to have a mixed use development, depending on the developer strategy all the way, because a lot of developers they tend to sell the retail portion, and then the retail actually becomes a nuisance rather than a convenience. And that's the reason that you should have a more moderated retail sector, where you know that these are the items or these are the people or brands that will come into the building, and this goes along with the status of the building or status of the project. So if there's a launderer, you know which laundry guy to come in, you know which supermarket to bring in, you know which coffee shop to bring in. You don't have like a nightclub going on down at the retail store. So so all those things need to be managed carefully when you have retail. But of course, it does bring in a lot of convenience if managed carefully.
Yeah, I think the point which we discussed or we just mentioned was the millennials' choice of renting versus buying real estate. At one end, for last 2 years, definitely, the demand has been strong. People have been buying apartments. But with the changing preferences, and the rental yields generally where they are, and the interest rates are also obviously always over 7%. The differential is always likely to remain. And the way the newer set of buyers who are in late 20s or early 30s, they were thinking, are we thinking from a long-term trend perspective, a more renting decision versus buying an apartment? Maybe Jay, your thoughts on that?
So it's all depends on your future cash flow. If you are doing stable job, then you should go for buying the home. And if you are into some industry where your cash flow is not secured for future 5-10 years, then you should go for renting the property. This is my view.
Yeah, but from a financial perspective, Rishab, your thoughts? I'm sure when people do a math, I borrow at 7% and I'm staying in an asset which just gives me 2%. Is that what kind of thought goes in today's set of buyers? Conventionally, we've always seen that it's a more of an emotional decision. As a family, we all want to own an apartment and stay in that apartment which we own. But is there a possible structural change in the trend we likely to see, or are we seeing that on ground?
I would think that considering that you will only be renting all your life is more of a naive decision. as a financial advice, I wouldn't recommend anyone to go for it. You should have at least that idea that 5 years down the line, I want to buy an apartment, or that should be a goal, or a house, whatever it is. But the idea should be to create that asset, because with real estate, this is the old age, the theory that buy real estate and wait, don't wait to buy real estate. So, you buy the real estate, keep it, because that is your hedge against the next 1,000 square feet of apartment that you want to buy after 30 years, or your kids want to move into a bigger apartment. So if you are buying the 1,000 square feet at today's rate, next 30 years down the line, when your son wants to buy an apartment, that 1,000 square feet is secured for you. So you will be able to buy maybe 1,200 or 1,500 square feet. Regardless, like a lot of times, you will hear family chats happening where, your dad must have gotten an apartment at 1 lakh rupees, full apartment, and today the rate is like 1 lakh rupees per square feet. And you tell them that, why didn't you buy it? Why didn't you buy more at that time? And they'll be like, why don't you do it right now? That's the same idea.
Yeah. Yeah, Anuj, your thoughts? And when you talk to your friends and you interact with so many buyers, is this the thought or a decision making point from a buyer's perspective?
I partly do agree with both what Jay and Rishab mentioned, that it's always linked to your cash flows and at what stage in life you are. But if you're at that stable stage in life and you have a well-paying salaried income coming in every month on month, I would always advise that one goes to buy the property compared to rent it. We have seen, in fact, after the advent of COVID, the amount of renting done in our ready possession projects has gone down drastically. And more of tenants are in fact buying what they've been staying in for the last 10-12 years or so. Earlier, they would think we're not spending much, we're spending 1% or 2% every month or so. But they've also taken that call that let's not stay on the rent and let's choose to buy the property instead. And definitely as a financial advisor, one would look at it that you may be making 7 to 9% elsewhere in commercial real estate. You may make 2 to 3% in Mumbai MMR. But that's just, I would say, numbers in an Excel or numbers on a board also. Having a property, I would say the value and our Indian culture and Indian mindset, in fact, across the world as well, owning a property and the respect, the reputation, the family life that comes with it is always different compared to mentioning that a particular person is staying on the rent versus a particular person owns a house.
No, absolutely. I think hence, even after all what we speak, in last 2 years' time, the demand still holds, holds well. And now we are moving towards second homes, luxury homes. So despite being on the negative, yields, negative interest rates on residential, but we still see this. But to that, I think another point, which comes across is how to, maximize returns in a residential property. And hence the, question comes on like a model of fractional ownership or a co-living, student housing, senior living, which I think also is getting, the need of the hour, where the overall trends are changing. How, from your, residential, as a developer perspective, you think this also now forms an integral part of your strategy to grow your portfolio, having these shared living, whether it's seniors, student, or co-living? Rishab, I'm going to start with you.
So in our certain projects where ticket sizes are convenient enough for co-living places, like the 300 to 400 square feet, over there are these options where we can explore. Where there are bigger apartments, it's a little difficult to match the gentry. So that's the reason that we avoid doing that. But specifically, if made for co-living, it's a great product. But you need to design this beforehand rather than build it and then try and achieve the maximum ROI out of it. So yeah, it's a good idea. In fact, co-living, shared living, and like you mentioned, senior living. That is another concept which is coming out. in order to maximize your ROIs, there are a lot of ways. I mean, you can also buy second homes, put it on Airbnbs, use different platforms that are available for weekly stays, which are giving like phenomenal returns right now. They're giving about 25, 27% per annum after, deducting all the expenses.
Yeah, but Jay, your thoughts? Do you see enough demand for say a co-living or a student housing?
So yeah, co-living, fractional ownership, all are relatively new to the Indian real estate market, but yeah, it's growing. Real estate investment are best type of investment due to its high asset appreciation. So investor can utilize their financial owner, like their investment in co-living or senior living, or maybe in a fractional ownership. They can diversify their investment.
Yeah. Pushpa, your thoughts? Because as a retailer, we all tend to have and interact with the actual millennials, hundreds and thousands of customers on a daily basis. You see that millennial thought process, is now, is basically spend now, right? Or what we call as BNPL, buy now, pay later. Is this the overall trend which possibly structurally we're going to see in next few years to come? Sorry, Pushpa, you're on mute.
See, I think typically what would tend to happen is that millennials pre-COVID were anti-buying houses. There was a whole wave going on about. Now with their COVID experience, I think whoever we sort of talk and do consumer research on, service apartment will be something that will really take traction according to us. Studio apartments downtown spaces, in Gurgaon, etc. Service apartments, studio apartments will gain traction. That's one category that you can see will grow. Beyond that, I think what will tend to happen is there'll either be the studio apartments or there'll be large homes, large apartments. So there'll be, and those people who can afford, they will go in for the larger apartments, slightly in the suburbs. And so that's the trend that you see, because today when we launched a lot of those independent floors, even in New Gurgaon, there's a lot of traction even there because it's affordable, it's larger living space, and people don't mind. And what's happening is with hybrid culture, people are going to their work maybe twice a week. So the other times they are there. So the traffic, they have to beat only twice a week. That's the way they're looking at it. And hence they are moving to larger homes in the suburbs. And however, millennials who want to live in downtown, where there's a pressure for, housing, it would be smaller apartments.
Yeah, I think studio service apartments is clearly the trend, which I think possibly we are seeing in all the markets. And another one is also doing plotted or villas, maybe, in on outskirts. So maybe that again, the trend. Maybe Anuj, your thoughts, since you all also have, good land parcels around, say, Mumbai. Do you think that is also clearly an emerging demand trend for people to own plots, build their own houses where they may spend good amount of time, and considering there's a hybrid work culture, which is here to stay? Earlier, we thought it's a disruption, but now it's looking that, this is a new norm which will remain. You think, again, this is a good emerging asset class or the, buyer's preference which we will see?
While it's a relatively new concept for the last 3 to 4 years or so, it has gained a lot of traction in certain parts of MMR, and it's always linked to, I would say, the given value of the land also, because especially across MMR, land values have been artificially raised up and risen. So unless a developer has a given land parcel which is where he can afford to not consume full FSI and do a kind of plotted living or villa style living, maybe in Alibag or somewhere, that's where he can explore an option like this. But apart from that, I feel if a developer has parked a couple of acres in the far off places like a Badlapur or Karjat, all of these areas did extremely well in the COVID in COVID, and even after COVID, I think land prices have more than doubled in those areas, in fact. So it's good, but as long as the landowner is able to afford losing FSI, even when it comes to senior living, it's always popular for senior living to have low-rise structures, whereas the FSI across Mumbai, Thane, Delhi is so high that to consume or to recover your cost, you have to plan 18 to 20 floors and higher. That de-encourages seniors to come and stay with you in the first place. So you have to find the right balance and then go for it, I feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Anuj. Maybe we just last few minutes in the discussion. I think one point we just wanted to discuss was on the fractional ownership. This has been going around, well on the office side, and obviously the yields what we have also support it. How, from a, investor standpoint, and how, you developer are thinking is, do you think the even fractional ownership in residential also possibly may gain traction, and considering, the returns can be maximized by, a co-living kind of a concept, or a managed residences, or a service residences? Maybe Rishab, your thought?
So fractional ownership today is really not very applicable in terms of residential. It's because exactly what you said. It's because of the low ROI. The yield is almost 1.5–2%, especially in metros. But if taken from scratch, from if the deal is done beforehand, yes, the project can make sense. But obviously, we are waiting to see something like this happen. Even developers in Mumbai are waiting that there's a fractional ownership kid who's sitting somewhere and he's going to come and put in 1,000 crores. But yet to be seen.
Yeah. So, I think that before we go for any question which possibly the audience may have, maybe a last thought, from all, four of you, top, two or maybe top three things which, you're seeing a clear shift from a buyer's perspective or a new millennial spending perspective in last 2.5 years time. Maybe Pushpa, we can start from you.
Where millennials are concerned, well, their decisions will be tech inspired. We have to keep that in mind. In all sectors of real estate, it will be tech inspired for sure. The second thing that I see is millennials are going to be going to go for brands which they trust. I think the trustability of brands and how much the brands are into, say, sustainable clothing, sourcing right, all that will make a big difference in their choice of brands. The third is also the fact that they would like a lot more alfresco in their F&B. They are looking for more character. Overall, if I see, they're looking for trust, soul, and character far more than what the previous generation did.
Sure. Thanks, Pushpa. Jay?
So, yeah, this generation knows like what they want. They are very specific and clear with their requirements. So yeah, they'll go with the brand, then amenities, and the location, and the crowd in the society. Yeah.
Sure. Anuj?
I think millennials in today's times, or I would say in the future as well, have shifted their focus heavily on the wellness aspect for a project. They consider the open space, the size of the clubhouse, the gymnasium, the spa, the steam, sauna, and they are lucky that there are a couple of such land parcels still available in the city. But these projects are always, I would say, a standout compared to other projects for a millennial. Secondly, something that will eventually become, I would say, a millennial preference or would be forced upon them by global investors also would be defining the carbon footprint also used by the project, be it in terms of giving cheaper access to home loans, faster processing time for home loans. If your carbon footprint is limited, that is going to spur millennials towards a particular project or entity or location. And thirdly, millennials are always looking for that one brand that's been there for maybe number of generations and years. The legacy behind the brand, be it generations have changed, but the brand has the same motto and the same vision. So these aspects would determine what a millennial would go for times to come ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Anuj. Rishab?
So according to me, I just want to give a different perspective on the last topic, what Anuj said, that a brand which is there existing since generations, and that is what the millennials will trust. It's only because real estate is such an expensive product that they want to just keep it in mind that these guys are the guys who are delivering over the past, and not just someone who's going to a Ponzi scheme. Other than that, but more importantly, a brand which will directly appeal to their needs. Create more common spaces, create different things about like co-working spaces, or have different parking systems in place. These are the brands which will actually connect with their needs, rather than someone who's already been there since ages. Someone who can actually connect with each and every pinpoint demand. That is what I think will create the next brand.
Sure. Thanks, Rishab. I think so. Very interesting points, brought out in the discussion today. There's a clear, flight to quality buyer experiences. I think we spoke about carbon footprint in terms of EV, having EV stations, for example, technology inspiration. I think the technology is the moot point, whether it's metaverse or touchless points. Good important point also is that millennials still prefer to buy. At least that's what the panelist today thinks, and which is also clearly also evident in the trend. Retail spends have been good. In fact, it's much higher, as even Pushpa mentioned, from the pre-COVID days. So I think overall, I think that we look to be, entering into a good structural, upcycle from an overall real estate, as a real estate is concerned. So the good times which we've been witnessing in last maybe 12 to 15 months time are here to stay. Sapna, I think we are possibly, I don't know whether you're on time, overtime, over to you.
You are known to keep the session on time, Piyush, so we are definitely on time. I'll quickly take the audience question with Pushpa because she has to leave for another meeting. One question we have asked that, last 2-3 years, we saw that how younger generation is now very keen to buy property, but the recent property prices hike, the interest rate hike, have all these things impacted their sentiments? What is your observation?
Well, as I said, I think there are a lot of these first-time buyers we are seeing with our independent floors. We're seeing a lot of that. And I also feel that in future, when we do mixed-use developments, we're coming up with a very large mixed-use development where service apartments could well be a way forward. So I think there will be changes and trends that we will see going forward, which may not be the usual kind of apartments that we've seen so far. These would be much more end user oriented.
That's right. Very new trends that are coming in. Thanks, Pushpa. Piyush, going to you. You are in thick of the things from the buyers and as well as from the industry point of view. Pushpa mentioned a lot of new trends. You mentioned about fractional ownership and others. And now a lot of new options for investment have come up. Just, investing in property is not there. There are REITs, there are fractional, there are, realty, real estate mutual funds. Are you seeing, the younger generation now more probably inclined towards these new products, or how is it?
No, so I think it's a good point, Sapna, you mentioned. See, real estate traditionally always was, we looked at it upon as owning an asset. It required large money, large capital, and it was always difficult to buy and sell. But with all the newer concepts, whether we talk about REITs or fractional ownership, it's kind of desegmented the entire industry. Today, by investing 10,000 rupee, one can invest in REIT. By investing, few lakhs, one can have an exposure on the office property. So not only millennials, and I think the entire generation possibly, look forward to expose themselves to real estate. And there are just multiple avenues which have opened up. and this will just grow bigger and bigger, Sapna.
Yeah, so I think it has kind of democratized the entire real estate now for even the small investors who want to start small. Now, going back to the same question that I had put up with Pushpa, going to Rishab, Anuj, and Jay, do you see the younger generation buyer sentiments getting impacted due to the new developments of price hike, interest rate hike? Rishab, starting from you.
Actually, I feel the other way around. I feel, the price may have increased in the short term, but it has decreased. If you see over the last 3 years, 4 years, the interest rates have decreased considerably. In fact, if you would have seen a few articles, Mr. Deepak Parekh himself had said that he's never seen a cheaper interest rate, and this is the best time to buy a house. So considering, Mr. Deepak Parekh saying this, I think all over India, everyone should trust his opinion on this. It's the right time to buy the house.
Correct. Maybe I think it has created, in fact, even more urgency to, invest now before they go higher.
Exactly. So like how someone said about YOLO before, this is the FOMO. So you don't, the fear of missing out. So you don't miss out on anything.
Correct. So Anuj, what's your thoughts on this? Has it, inverse proportion to that, they are now urgency in buying property, or they have now, it's wait and watch for them?
It's actually variable market to market also. So where what we are seeing based upon live data for the last 3 months is that for our more affordable markets beyond Mumbai, in Thane and beyond Thane, that's where due to rises in interest rates, the decision-making time has increased. People are taking more than 90 days to convert a property, which did earlier take about 60, 75 days. Whereas for central Mumbai and Sobo, it has nominally or very marginally, or there's been almost no impact. Also, we're seeing people are realize this is the best time to buy a property. And actually the volume of sales has increased out there. And at the same time, a lot of developers, including us, are offering some incentive schemes to customers wherein we're capping the home loan rate for the first 2.5 years from a 25 to 30-year home loan. And we expect till the time the home loan is capped, the interest rates will again come down to sub 7%. So whatever loss is to be borne by the customer, that hit is being taken on by the developer in a way.
Okay, that's right. So, Jay, coming to you, is this the right time to buy property? What is your...
Though interest rate increased by 1% or so, still it's the lowest in the history. Interest rate is still lowest in the history. And as we always say, roti, kapada, makan is our basic requirement and basic necessity. So yeah, this is the best time to buy the home.
So before we close this session, Piyush, let me come back to you again. You've been part of the industry. You have interacted with first generation of developers, second generation. Now we are seeing even third generation coming in.
I'm not that old, Sapna. I don't look, I'm sure.
But we have third generation also now coming in. So how are you seeing this entire, interactions changing with when you're talking to the first generation, the second generation, and now, in fact, Sangeeta Prasad was of the view that every 5 years, the entire scenario changes, the mindsets change. So we should not be talking about second generation, but multi-generation now, the brothers.
Yeah.
5 years change.
No, absolutely the point, and especially from real estate standpoint, every 10 years, the way real estate is done has changed. The developers, way they think they have changed. Even the developers themselves have changed, right? So now from the 10 years, it's become 5 years, right? So, if at all we interact with someone who is 5 years younger to us, right, you will realize that they think very differently. And today, I think it's very important is technology. I think with all the panelists brought out the point, and anyone who's able to adopt technology the fastest and implement it is kind of go ahead in the race. So, and definitely younger generation will definitely have a much easier and a better flight to adopt technology. So I think it's great to, see newer thoughts, newer ideas, and hence, we see there's so many new ideas. What changes we have seen in last 3 to 4 years time in real estate, or last 5 years time in real estate, in terms of newer products, newer, different quality, different concepts, is a clearly vindication that the newer generation, the way they are thinking and way they're implementing things, it's really way to go. And possibly real estate, it will move towards how the developed markets are. I'm sure much sooner than what we all think.
That's right. I think we are on the right track, and the younger generation is taking it, forward in a very accelerated way with many new ideas and technology, as you mentioned. And let me tell you, Piyush, you are the youngest moderator we have today in this entire conclave.
Great to hear.
So fantastic. This was a fantastic session. Our regrets on behalf of Nayan, Raheja, and Sarthak Gaur, in fact, because last minute unavoidable circumstances, they could not join, although they were very keen to be part of this very young panel. But we had a very good conversation with all the younger generation of developers. Piyush was there, and he had similar thoughts what others have expressed. Yes, the real estate is the right time to be part of the real estate growth story. So thank you so much, everyone. Piyush, Gupta for so wonderfully moderating the panel once again. Rishab for being here with us. I know you're out of India, but still you joined us from there. Thank you so much. Anuj for being here, part of this conclave, and Jay for being here with us. Again, Pushpa for being here with us and being part of this very informative and interesting discussion. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you all.
Thank you, Piyush. Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Anuj.
Thank you.